that the standard narrative, that the standard narrative, that the standard narrative
You'll finish.
has holes, has holes, that the standard narrative, that the standard narrative, that the standard narrative
You'll finish.
has holes, has holes. This is a topic that when you're the beginning student of knowledge, you're like, what is all of this going on? What is all of this going on here? When
It says in the book that his words perfectly explained many different times. I think it's like 5 times at least in the Quran, but they had to add because it wasn't necessarily perfectly explained. So they had to add it. They had to add that. And maybe I'm being petty on this one too, but if I believe that, perfectly explained, never changing, eternal word of God, not created, bro, why they adding? Why they helping the brother out? Why they gotta hold Allah's hands? Huh? Why they gotta hold his right hands right now? They're helping him along right now. They said, you know what? The verse that we was given, it wasn't good enough. They won't get it. Let's add to it.
I don't think it is wise to bring it up. Why didn't I say it? Because it should not be said in public. Because it should not be said in public. I don't want to get into that issue. I don't want to get into that issue. I don't even want to be explicit. It should only be discussed amongst those who are familiar with this science. It should never be brought up in public. This is not something you discuss amongst the masses, ya akhi. It's not wise. It's not wise.
Is the Quran perfectly preserved and miraculously preserved? Is there only one Quran?
What?
Are there any differences in the text? Do the differences affect the meaning?
I'm gonna let y'all know this is gonna be my last video, man. Depending on where you see this, it might be the first video that you see when it comes to this, but it's gonna be my last one talking about the Quran variants. Because after this, I don't care no more. I'm gonna move on. Because I think I've learned all I need to learn when it comes to this, the understanding. But yet, I may bring some back just for newer people that don't know, just to help them out. Or I just might point them to the old ones I got. But again, these videos right here, just to help y'all learn, help y'all understand what's been really going on about preservation and lack thereof. So this is what this is right here, man. Shout out to the brother right here, ex-Muslim, became Christian. So, he probably knows a little bit about Islam, a little bit about what it was that he was taught and how it wasn't true and how it was a lie. And he's just bringing that out, bringing the truth out. So that's what I like. I like when people are sharing the truth, talking about it. And a lot of people in the comments going to be like, well, he wasn't, just because he was a Muslim before, don't mean he really knew what he was talking about. Or, oh, man, he ain't speaking Arabic like that. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But they going to say he ain't speaking, he ain't using Arabic, so he don't even know. That's what's going to happen. But, again, for the ones that are on the fence, that know Islam's really shaky, that really ain't about that really just don't make no sense, this is for y'all to help y'all out. For you Christians out there that don't know how to refute or don't know how to talk to when, you're either Muslim friends or people that you come across that say all these things that ain't true on social media, maybe, that talk about all these things that ain't true. Here you go. This for y'all too. It's for me as well, because I won't never say, because there might be something in this video right now that I haven't learned about before, that I might be hip to right now. A lot of things I really ain't check out so much are the hadiths and things of that nature. So it started off with hadiths. So Lord willing, we get there. Lord willing, I get to learn a little bit more about that. But that's what this is for. That's what this is for. Just to learn the truth. That's what I want to do. I just want to plug in the truth, because the truth gonna set you free. I know it.
Meaning, do the manuscripts match the Quran we have today?
Mm.
Did the companions of Muhammad recite the Quran differently?
Did they?
If you are confused, then you came to the right place. This is your friendly neighborhood ex-Muslim.
My guy.
My friend Abdullah Gondal has taken the time to put together some information that is extremely damaging to the standard narrative. This is not new information, but this is information that has been available in academia that has not been widely disseminated. We are going to change that. He has summarized this beautifully with examples from the Sanaa manuscript and variants in the standard Quran. Get ready, because this is going to blow apart the preservation myth. These are examples of some of the holes that Yasir Qadi was mentioning. 3 points before we get into it. Number 1, the Quran doesn't even mention these variants, which makes it more comical. This is similar to Shia saying the most important article of faith is the 12 infallible Imams. Yet nowhere in the Quran do we find their mention. So
the Shia got thrown in the bus with it, man. They ain't even that big. They ain't even that big. But because the Sunni, they talking all their stuff about the preservation and talking about things that ain't in the Quran, apparently. So now he had to throw the Sunni in there too. Like, hey, yo, what y'all talking about ain't there either. Don't think he forgot. That's what he's saying, basically. He's like, don't think I forgot about y'all just because y'all a little set. Like, I ain't forget. He out there spraying.
So if the variants are a feature, not a bug, why aren't they mentioned in the Quran? This is also a big problem for Quranists because the Quran claims to be preserved, but the existence of
It just ain't get the iOS update yet. That's all. It just ain't get the update. That's all that was. You should know better.
variants debunks the Quran. The hadith of 7 ahruf is the only saving grace. Number 2, the common response by Muslim apologists is that these variants are different tribal dialects that Allah revealed them in to make it easier for them. What dialect would be confused by saying and those instead of those? Can you imagine some Arab in the desert saying, yeah, I can't understand that because it says those when we normally say and those? There's absolutely no way different tribal dialects are required to either exclude or include things like a wow or a huwa, meaning and or he. If Allah was going to worry about some tribes not understanding it, then what about the Greek and Persian speaking populations in the north of Arabia, who would be the majority of the population of the Ummah within a couple of decades?
Yo, time out. I just thought about something. So Allah revealed the Quran in Arabic, and that's supposed to be the best translation to read it. Is Allah Arabic? Is that his language? Is that what he learned? Is that what he knows? If he's so powerful, why is the Arabic the best version and not no other version? Why ain't the English as good as the Arabic? All these other versions. I'm trying to figure that out. That confused me just right there. I just thought about that. I said, hold on now. Is this brother really Arabic and we ain't know? Allah up there with 2 right arms, the shin, Arabic shin. He gonna turn into a little Arabic boy? Dang, that's crazy. I didn't even think about that till just now. This brother really Arabic. That makes a whole bunch of sense.
Perhaps Allah should have revealed a Greek and Persian ahruf also? Number 3, was it really worth it for Allah to go to such lengths to reveal the Quran in several ahruf for the sake of the Benu this and that, but then cause such controversy and even fighting later on for the next 1400 years? Let's look at some of the variants found in the lower text of the Sanaa palimpsest, an alleged companion codex hidden under the Uthmanic text. The scholar Marjan Putin has stated that Asma Hilali is wrong and nobody else follows her in the idea that Sanaa manuscripts were a student copy. He wrote, the Sanaa palimpsest absolutely is a Quran. Asma Hilali is wrong about this. I don't think anyone else follows her in this idea. From here on, Sanaa will be used to refer to the lower text of the palimpsest. Of particular interest is the omission of the word sadaqah, which translates to charity. The standard text offers you 3 ways to fulfill the compensation. A. Fasting for 3 days. B. Sadaqah. C. Animal sacrifice. But the sadaqah option does not exist in the lower text. That has many theological implications. We also notice the omission of the word your heads in the Sanaa text, which could raise the question of whether other bodily hair needs to be shaved. This verse has significant additions and changes to the sentence structure. The words light and guidance are switched in order. Nabiyun is changed with anbiya. The Sanaa text has a significant addition of by what Allah has revealed in it and judge by it, while omitting the word nas, mankind. This verse appears significantly.
I ain't going front, y'all. It looks kind of hard for me to read. I don't know if y'all gonna be able to read it, but if y'all can't, don't worry. The original link to this video is going to be down below. So hopefully y'all can get to that and check it out. But you'll obviously see the surahs up top. And, if you want to, hopefully you can be able to read it. I just know I can't, but.
Different. And it could be argued that the difference between withdraw from them and do not come near them can have different implications. The Sanaa text has major sentence structural deviations from the standard text, similar to the previous example.
Bro, I can't read this. I ain't gonna hold you, but I gotta get like this, y'all. I gotta be old with it. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it though for y'all right now. And they ask you about menstrual. Hold on. Huh? Menstrual. Okay. Well, maybe I didn't need to read this. It is harm. So keep away from wives during menstruation and do not approach them until they are pure. Okay, well, let's go look at the riddle here. So do not go near wives during menstruation until they are pure, in which they have purified themselves. So one of them, they got to purify themselves, and the other one until they are pure. So, I mean, for real, I ain't going to hold you. These are lightweight weak. I ain't going to front. Like, I get it. When you talk about dot for dot, word for word, I get it that, this obviously ain't dot for dot. But that's, I mean, really, it'd be saying the same thing.
Sanaa text omits and exchanges some words for synonyms.
But I'm not saying that it's right. Don't get me wrong, because it's all a lie. So regardless, I really don't care about the variants. I just care about the people that cry and complain about word for word, dot for dot in my comments. So I'll be shutting them up. That's all this is, as well as a learning experience.
Here we see a drastic change. The standard text reads, and establish prayer and give zakat, whereas the Sanaa text reads, and do jihad in the way of Allah. The word jihad is not synonymous to praying and giving charity. The current version omits the more violent reading. Again, we observe the phrase, indeed my bones have weakened, and is absent in the Sanaa text. We find an additional word, Rabbi, Lord, in the Sanaa text. The verse appears quite different. Allah is quoting Zakaria. That phrase is nowhere else to be found in the Quran attributed to Zakaria. That leads me to question if he ever spoke those words. Or is this another example of the Quran being revised to strengthen a theological point? The Sanaa text has two additional phrases compared to the standard text. The first addition is, then they increased in their disbelief, and the second being, that is because they are a nation that. In this case, the Sanaa version offers more explanation and detail. Was this intentionally?
Hold on. Slow down. Man, hold on. Now we're getting somewhere, brother. Now we're getting somewhere. And maybe I'm being petty about this, but when I seen the addition of the different words, so I hear a lot of times Muslims be in the comments, they be like, yo, man, but you know what? A word or two that's a little bit different don't mean nothing. Don't mean nothing. But we don't add full sentences. I've heard that multiple times. If I didn't, I wouldn't care to bring it up. But since I've heard it multiple times, not full sentences, bam, right there. Full sentence just added out of nowhere. Like, yo, what? For what? I hope there's more. I ain't gonna front. At the beginning, I was like, these is lightweight weak. But now we're getting into the good stuff.
Removed or forgotten. The Sanaa text says, they have exchanged the covenant with Allah and the oaths for a small price. But the modern text says they have exchanged the signs of Allah for a small price, which alters the meaning. A variation occurs later where standard text reads from His way while Sanaa reads the way of Allah. You might ask, why does this matter? His way or the way of Allah? Same difference, right? The issue is human books have these type of differences. This book is the literal speech of Allah, which is the correct ayah. And keep in mind, this is not a difference of dialect or pronunciation. Having an extra word Allah instead of Him, these are actual word differences. Surah Tawbah verse 80 is Allah condemning Muhammad for praying for the hypocrites. The difference is in the Sanaa version, it's a simple, Allah will not forgive them. In the standard text, it says, that is because they disbelieved in Allah and His messenger, and says, never will forgive them.
Dang. So what's crazy is they had to add, they had to add that because apparently in the standard version, Allah's words weren't clear enough. They had to add. Wasn't clear enough. Even though it says in the book that, his words perfectly explained many different times. I think it's like 5 times at least in the Quran. But they had to add because it wasn't necessarily perfectly explained. So they had to add it. They had to add that. And maybe I'm being petty on this one too. But if I believe that, perfectly explained, never changing, eternal word of God, not created, bro, why they adding? Why they helping the brother out? Why they gotta hold Allah's hands? Huh? Why they gotta hold His right hands right now? They helping him along right now. They said, you know what? The verse that we was given, it wasn't good enough. They won't get it. Let's add to it. Let's erase it and do some other things and make it seem like they don't know. And let's burn those ones so they don't see it. But, whatever, to each his own. Do what you got to do.
Theological justification. Also, in an Ottomanic manuscript shown by Dr. Daniel Brubaker,
my guy,
the verse has the phrase 70 times, as in ask for forgiveness 70 times, omitted.
Like
so we have 3 manuscripts with 3 different readings of the verse. This could be a scribal mistake or a forgery. If more than half of the verse is a variation, is it still the same verse? Here are some more anomalies found in different manuscripts. Now let's put aside the manuscripts and shift our focus to modern Qurans. Do all the modern Quran variants have identical text? Do all the agreed upon variants that we see affect the meaning? In this example, the difference may seem minor, but it divided the Shias and Sunni. In the predominant Hafs reading, we find the word al-julakum, but in the Susi reading, we find al-julikum. The difference renders
Yeah, man. Hatun Tosh be bringing this up. Again, because I'm not well versed in, their particular beliefs, I maybe, because they say this is a part of like the prayer, or this is a part of like what you're actually commanded to do. So why that could like change things up, whether it's just wash your whole body or wipe your feet. Because again, if this has to deal with Allah and what He wants and what He actually commanded, you might want to get this right.
To mean wash your feet, while Susi says wipe your heads and your feet. So do we wipe or wash our feet during ablution? The verse talks about compensation for missing a fast. The Hafs reading is ta'amu miskin, while Warsh is ta'ami masakin. Singular turns to plural. According to Hafs, you feed a poor person, while Warsh says poor people. Do we feed one poor person or many people? One missed fast equates to one poor person, or someone can miss 10 fasts and feed only 3 people and the compensation is valid. Here we see Qala versus Qul. Hafs reads Qul, which implies Allah commanded Muhammad to say the following words, while Warsh reads Qala, meaning said, which implies Allah is quoting Muhammad's words.
What?
So did Allah quote Muhammad to say it, or Muhammad said it and Allah quoted him? I hope you realize the theological implications. There's a huge difference here. This specific variant is a common occurrence. We are not done yet.
Oh, we're not?
Here
Let's keep
are a
going.
few dozen variants in the modern Quran with special commentary from Yasir Qadi.
That the standard narrative, that the standard narrative,
Boy.
that the standard narrative
You'll finish.
has holes, has holes, that the standard narrative, that the standard narrative,
Boy.
that the standard narrative
You'll finish.
has holes, has holes. This is a topic that when you're the beginning student of knowledge, you're like, what is all of this going on? What is all of this going on here? When you go a little bit more, you learn to simply memorize what your teachers say and regurgitate it out. And you don't fully comprehend. When you do a deep dive is when things get very, very awkward. That the standard narrative, that the standard narrative,
Boy.
that the standard narrative
You'll finish.
has holes, has holes. That the standard narrative, that the standard narrative,
Boy.
that the standard narrative
You'll finish.
has holes, has holes. And I don't think it is wise.
In conclusion, the reasons
was
given by
fire.
Muslim scholars as to why there are variants don't make any sense. The Quran itself doesn't even mention variants. The type of variants we find wouldn't fall under dialects. They are clearly interpolations, omissions, and insertions that reflect transmission and scribal errors and have nothing to do with divinely revealed options for some tribe. The Quran is not preserved. The cat is out of the bag and it's too late to undo the damage.
Ow.
Thanks for watching.
Man, shout out to Abdullah Shamir for that video, man. That video came out some years back, man, but it's still fire. That was crazy. I enjoy it. I like the prompts that he had. I like actually the breakdowns of the different variations and things of that nature. Again, at the beginning, it was lightweight, like, man, this is kind of like, this really ain't that. But then, it picked up. This has been your boy Albert, Scripture Plug. I'll catch y'all next time I'm out.